up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Dubai. This is season 2, episode 6. So let's get into it. All right, y'all. Y'all know sometimes before we get into it, we get a little spicy, just a little bit. And I want to talk about a few things. So first up, we're going to talk about Talene versus Brooks, and then we're going to go through a couple of tweets. So let's get into that. So let's do Talene versus Brooks first. So Talene was on her Insta story. She did the whole writing prompt thing where it was like, you can ask me anything and I'll answer the question. So a page by the name called Happens at Bravo reposted one of the questions that was asked to her about her relationship with Brooks. And this is what it said. So it goes, do you feel that you betrayed Brooks after she brought you on the show? And she responded by saying everything, and I mean everything, will be addressed at the reunion and make a lot of sense for people. No, I didn't betray her. The truth will come out. A good heart will always win in the end, too. So Brooks saw that, and then she responded by quote tweeting that page, and she said, hashtag RHO Dubai delusional. My entire cast didn't even know you. You were a non-existent to everyone on the show. You begged to be on this show since season 1, and I put you on forward too late. I made your dreams come true. You are a backstabber. Be grateful for the opportunity. And it just didn't stop there, because then Brooke said this. She said, we watched episode 6 already. Are you worried that the fans are seeing your mask fall off? You are two-faced. Your two faces are showing, and they can't be worked around. Since I stopped engaging when I knew what you were doing, finally, wipe Stansberry spray tan off your lips. It got cut off, y'all. It says and her bum is missing it. Hashtag RHO Dubai. So that exchange happened on March the 8th, which is Monday. So on the night of the episode, which is July the 9th, in the episode, Talene was saying how their family pet unfortunately passed away. The dog's name was Coco. And she said the only people that reached out to her, I think she said, was Lisa, Ayan, and Stanberry. And so she was taken aback at the fact that Brooks didn't reach out to her. Well, Brooks took to her Twitter to let it be known that she did reach out, and she actually posted receipts. So she said this: your sister's dog passed away on the 27th, Talene, and on the 28th, when I found out, I messaged her, stop lying so damn much. OMG, too much now. Hashtag RHO Dubai. So in one of the screenshot pictures that she attached to her tweet, it's actually the group chat with everybody in it on WhatsApp app. So it's Talene saying, oh wow, and it's dated March the 27th, 2023. So she said, oh wow, our family dog Coco of 13 years just passed away last night in my sister's arms. Haven't slept all night. I have chills that you're sending this now. And then Caroline Stanberry responded by saying, no way, OMGO. And then Talene responded back to Caroline Stanberry by saying, not sure how I'm going to power through it this week. And then she sent a picture of Coco and her daughter in the group chat. So then the next receipt that Brooks attached to her tweet was a screenshot, still on WhatsApp app, that she responded to, where she basically reached out to Talene's sister, Laura, or I think it's Lori. I think it's Lori. And she said this: hi, Lo. So sorry to hear about Coco. I hope you're staying strong and you're hanging in there, sending you lots of loves and hugs. And then the sister responded back by saying, hey, thank you, Caroline. I appreciate this message. And then the rest of the information from it is like them going to the mall or something, or to the movies. And this is the sister that called Caroline Brooks unhinged in the episode. So then I saw this exchange between her and a Stan page that was underneath this post, And I thought it was interesting. And the stand page is Not Today Satan, and it's a Candace from RHOP stand page. And the person said this: "Love you, girl, but you should probably wait for the reunion to air all this out." And Brooks responded by saying, "No, I won't be discussing or breathing life into her fake narratives and storylines during the reunion." Unhinged, her sister said, "Okay, so we can discuss Unhinged at the reunion." So I guess I was right that this was the sister that called her unhinged, because I think Talib might have multiple sisters. So then the person responded to Brooks by saying, "Fair, but my 2 cents, social media is probably a small percentage of viewers, and the show is probably the best platform to get your side out and clear any false narratives." And Brooks said, "True, I just wanted to clarify, and I hope we can focus on more pressing issues at the reunion, not on things like this, since it is completely a lie and everyone knows it." So I know a lot of people don't like Brooks. They think she's too much. They think she's chaotic. She a lot, and she is. But I'm not gonna lie, she get a good laugh out of me about almost every episode, and I enjoy the lady. But I can understand why people don't like her. When it comes to Talene and Brooks, I'm more so on Brooks' side, because to me, I do feel like Talene dropped Brooks when she got on the show. Because don't get me wrong, did I feel like Brooks was doing too much when she was arguing with Stanberry? Yeah, I really did. I was like, girl, you doing a lot. But when it comes to her and Talene, I feel like you were able to give Stanberry the respect and the courtesy by not having that conversation about Sergio and her daughter and all of that stuff. You pulled her to the side. But your friend that you've been with for 10 years, you can't do the same. That to me is kind of telling. And then the scene at the end with the family where they're calling her unhinged and they're laughing at the comments that Stansberry is making about Brooks. To me, that says a lot about how your family and you viewed Brooks at the end, because it doesn't make sense to me that you were friends with someone for 10 years and now all of a sudden their behavior is an issue for you. So I'm more so on Brooks' side at this point in the game. It might change as the season goes on, but I'm glad Brooks put out that tea about them lying on her, because she even liked my tweet, because I tweeted, I said, "See, now this is the type of Real Housewife drama I like." Okay, it's very surface level. And like Brooks put out the receipts and she said, "Girl, you're lying," and she telling the truth. You're lying. And what's more telling is the sister calling Brooks unhinged, but she got screenshots of saying, "Hey, I'm sorry about your loss," and you calling her unhinged. Y'all not to be trusted. So let's get into a few tweets. So if you didn't know, they posted the mid-season trailer, and it looks good. It really looks good. So Brooks quote tweeted Jay's reality blog, where they posted, "Brooks and Talene face off on next episode of #RHO Dubai." So she quote tweeted what they said, and she said this. She said, "I don't even have words. It is well, at Lisa Milan. If you weren't there that day to stick up for me, I don't know what would have happened. I didn't feel alone because of you. I felt protected because of you. #RHO Dubai." So it looks like it's the scene where Brooks and Rafi get into it, where Talene is like, "Are you challenging my husband?" And Brooks says, "Is your husband challenging me?" I said, "You better say that." Yeah. But she basically said it seems like Lisa, it looks like, and even in the mid-season trailer, it looks like Lisa was standing up for Brooks after her and Rafi got into it. So I wonder what kicked it off. So the next tweet is coming from Brooks, where she said this: "I can't wait for the reunion. Funny thing is Caroline Stanberry is the person I had some real issues with, and she knows why. She knows what wasn't shown. Fast forward to a year later, I feel my issues with Stanberry are minimal in comparison to what I'm seeing play out on #RHO Dubai." So I guess she's basically saying, like, girl, my issue with you wasn't even that deep compared to what I'm seeing from somebody I was supposed to be friends with for 10 years. Then we have one from Talene, where she said, "This will be my face when you see how our season unfolds. The shock of your life, #RHO Dubai." And it's a picture of her looking dumbfounded. So I wonder what happened. what happened. Another tweet from Brooks where she says, since our season has aired, my name is in 2/3 of every comment made about hashtag RHO Dubai. You all call me the villain. I think I'm a saint. Namaste. Hashtag healing Brooks. And then she got several laughing emojis. If you not, I can appreciate a TV villain or anybody who is getting beat up online to laugh at themselves and just roll with the punches. She get a little something from me, y'all. She gets a good laugh out of me. And then we're going to finish with the last two tweets from Lisa. She quote tweeted this person that said this: Lisa doesn't seem bothered by Stansberry's relationship with Ion at all. Brooke assumes that Lisa is having such a hard time with it, just shows how emotionally immature and insecure in her relationship. And then it got cut off. And then Lisa quote tweeted it by saying, exactly, unbothered AF. So I guess she's saying she's not pressed about them being friends. And then the last tweet we're going to talk about before we get into the review, she quote tweeted another person who said, hashtag RHO Dubai, obviously Rich threatened to leave. And she said, what? Never. So y'all know, we're going to talk about that situation with her and Rich in the review, but I will say, to me, it seems like Lisa is just overwhelmed with life at this point and her trying to juggle everything. But it do kind of seem like something is a little awry over there in that home. But we're going to talk about it more in the review. So let's get into it. The episode opens up where it left off, and we still have Talene and Brooks arguing at the table, and the girls are still in the desert, and it's 99 degrees. Okay, couldn't be me. So they're sitting at the table, and everyone's like, what are y'all arguing about? Like, what are y'all talking about? So Talene rehashes Phone Gate, where she's saying that, like, Brooks called her up at 2 a.m. in the morning and told her that Lisa told her that Stanberry was like, she doesn't understand why Talene pulled her away from the table, and she had a problem with it. And Brooks relayed that message to Talene, basically saying, like, girl, she don't really like you like that. Why are you giving her all of this courtesy? So Talene ended up calling Stanberry, and at the table, she's like, yo, I ended up calling Stanberry, and Stanberry said, yeah, I did say that, but not in that way. So pretty much what Brooks said that Lisa told her was actually true. It just seems like Brooks might have added a little more sauce to it, a little stank to it. So Talene was like, Brooks, you don't think that's stirring the pot? And Brooks is like, no, because I feel like she said it in a negative way, like it was shade. So I told you, and you told me to tell you that if someone is speaking negatively about you, then I should tell you. And then before she could get it out, like the full sentence, Talene was, God, do you ever take accountability? So then you got Ayan sitting beside Talene being like, ooh, Stanberry, she really choosing you. She really choosing you. And everybody else at the table is kind of looking. Lisa and Ayan are kind of like laughing at the whole situation. Sarah is just like really peeping the scene. So then Brooks was just like, okay, I just won't tell you anything anymore. So then that's when Talene ends up saying, like, you're on this healing journey, but is it really working? Because, you still hurt people. And so Brooks is like, okay, girl, I'm just done with it. I'm done with it. So then Sarah interjects and she's like, don't say that you're done with it. Let her talk and then you respond so y'all can come to like some type of understanding. So as Brooks is trying to like speak, she's fumbling over her words. They were taking shots. And to be honest, they might be dehydrated, and then you drinking, which also dehydrates you. You getting drunk a lot quicker than you supposed to. So I think she was a little tipsy, but she was just like, girl, it's whatever. And she ended up being like, do you get what I mean? And Talene was like, no, we don't get what you mean. And then everyone basically like laughed in her face at the table, and you could tell that it bothered her. So I could tell that Brooks was like kind of like shutting down. It was just like, I don't want to have this conversation anymore. But it was funny, while Talene and Brooks was arguing, Stanberry was just looking and smirking, like she was enjoying the fact that they both were beefing with one another. So you have Ayan in her confessional being like, Sarah is the Brooks whisperer, because Sarah tried to like help guide Brooks in like communicating or talking to Talene. So then it's pissing off Stanberry because she's like, let her speak. She's an adult. Like, let her do what she do. So then Sarah was like, why do you have an issue with me helping her? Like, when I don't help somebody, it's a problem. When I do help somebody, it's also a problem. Like, let me help her. So then Stanberry is like, why do you have your hand up her ass? And Sarah's like, I don't have my hand up her ass. Maybe I have my hand up her heart. It's not that deep. So they start arguing back and forth. You see Brooks smirking at the fact that they arguing back and forth about her, and you have a confessional of Stanberry being like, I don't know where Sarah, like, when did Sarah and Brooks become friends? Like, when did they become friends? Because I don't know what Brooks has done to Sarah to make her back her blindly, but I'm over it. I'm totally over it. So then they start arguing back and forth. Stanberry's like, this is bollocks. Like, you didn't even like her last year. So what is this all of a sudden? And Sarah was like, yeah, I didn't like her last year, but I like her now. And Brooks is like, what's the problem with that? And then this is where I was like, you're being a hypocrite, Stanberry, because you didn't like Ayan last season, and now you and Ayan are besties. Y'all be trading, y'all be going back and forth on Twitter and on Instagram together. So why can't Brooks and Sarah have the same relationship? It is given what Lisa said, that Stanberry is just upset that her minions aren't following in line anymore. Because what is really the issue about Sarah defending Brooks or trying to help her speak out her feelings with her friend? Because to me, I think that it's only fitting that happened with Sarah and Brooks, because I do think it's kind of foul on Talene's part. You were able to give Stanberry the courtesy at the Queen's dinner and pull her aside, which I think was the right thing to do, and talk to her about her marital issues, or the issues that she's having in her home with her daughter and Sergio. But somebody you've been friends with for 10 years, you couldn't do the same. So having other people defend her at the table, I don't think is a problem, especially when you were okay with laughing in her face when everybody else was laughing at her. So, Brooks chimes in and she's like, what's the problem with me and her being friends? So then Stanberry is just over it. She's just over it. So they're going back and forth arguing, Sarah and Stanberry. So then Stanberry tells Sarah to shut up. So then Sarah's like, girl, you shut up. So then they going back saying, shut up, shut up, shut up. And then Sarah's in her confessional being like, Stanberry didn't have no issue with me defending her and Sergio and their relationship and me speaking up for her. And then they flash back to the reunion where she did do that. But now all of a sudden, because I'm doing it for Brooks, it's an issue. So now it's feeling like if you don't fall in line for Stanberry, she gonna have a problem with you. So I said, well, you might have a point, Sarah. So eventually, Sarah ends up telling Stanberry, girl, shut up. You have zero class. You wear all these labels and all this stuff. You have zero class. I'm over you. So Sarah gets up from the table. Brooks is like, oh, I'll go with you. And Stanberry is like, okay, y'all gonna go hold hands? And Sarah's like, maybe. Maybe. And so she walks away. Brooks walks away. But Brooks is like, Lisa, can you come with us? And Lisa's like, oh, God, what y'all about to tell me now? So the three of them go and have a meeting with themselves. Everybody else at the table is like talking. And Stanberry brings up about how she feels like how Sarah is like the Brooks puppeteer now. And she's just over it. So while the other three ladies are in the huddle, they start to talk. And Sarah's like, I was only trying to help you because I know you are crappy with your words. And Brooks is like, yeah, you right, girl. But she brings up the whole situation with Lisa and Sarah, where she was like, someone asked, Sarah, did you ask about there being issues in Lisa's home? So Lisa's like, well, yeah, Ayan came back and told me when y'all went to dinner that you were prying, trying to figure out what was going on in my home. And Sarah was like, that's not the context that it was meant to be. I'm not gonna lie, I felt like Sarah was being messy. I still think Sarah was being messy. I just don't think she was being that messy where I feel like Lisa could have been like upset about it. But Lisa was just like, yeah, no, it kind of hurt my feelings, because I'm like, why would you ask me that? And Sarah was like, that was not the case. She was like, in the Arab community, when we ask like, is everything good at home, it doesn't have anything to do with like your marriage or anything. We're just trying to make sure you're okay, because we can see a change in you. So the three of them go and sit down at the table, and Sarah's like, girl, did you really tell her that I was being shady? So then Ayana is like, y'all all know Lisa is my girl, and if I feel uncomfortable about a conversation, I'ma tell her, because that's my best friend. And Lisa's like, as she should. Basically what Brooks it's funny because the same way Lisa and Ayan are like coming at Sarah is like it's the same thing about Talene, Brooks, and Stanberry. Like if Talene and Brooks were supposed to be best friends the same way Ayan and Lisa were, then technically they could have been doing the same thing if you get what I mean. Like Talene should have like well, I don't know if she should have, but she could have took the route of Lisa where she just believed her best friend and moved accordingly versus going to call Stanberry. But it seems like Talene really wants a friendship with Stanberry, so that's why she reached out to her. Also, like I said, I think she's a social climber. But it's just funny that like it's a parallel situation. So Lisa was like, there's nothing going on at home. I'm just like, I'm working, I'm overwhelmed. It's just a lot going on. So then Seba, or is it Seba? No, I think it's Seba chimes in and she's like, I wish you were there because the way she brought it up was in love. And then I started to think, why is Seba here? We're in episode 6. I think she was introduced to us on episode 2. She has added no significance in this whole entire season. I don't get why she became a friend of. She hasn't gotten into it with anybody. What is the purpose of her being here? Really, what is the purpose of her being here? So pretty much they kind of dead the conversation, and then Talene feels some type of way because she was like, look at what Brooks did. She deflected everything, and now everyone's talking about Lisa and her situation, but nobody's talking about our situation. And on one hand, I agree, she deflected and it worked, but on the other hand, where else was the conversation supposed to go? Like Brooke said, she didn't want to talk about it anymore. You felt like she's dismissing you and y'all's friendship isn't as deep as it should be. And you feel like she is instigating and stirring the pot. And you can tell that she's not going to take accountability or in the way that you want her to. So I don't get why you thought y'all was going to constantly argue about that at the table. But I do agree that she deflected the situation perfectly. Well, did she? Yeah, no, she did. Because when Sarah had the three of them in the huddle and they were going to keep talking about it, she was like, I don't want to talk about Talene no more. And then she did bring up Lisa and Sarah and Ayan. So kudos to Brooks. The next scene we have is of Lisa and Ayan. They're at this coffee shop. And as much as Lisa and Ayan got on my nerves last season and their whole entire friendship irked me, I really hope that they are able to like mend fences, because this one scene, I was like, oh, they really were good friends to each other. I like the fact that Lisa was able to be vulnerable in front of Ayan, and Ayan was able to give her, like, listen to her friend and give her friend good advice. So they meet up at this coffee shop, they sit down, and Lisa ends up just basically admitting that the reason why Sarah's words kind of irritated her is because her and Rich are like, Rich told her like, girl, you always tired for sex, like you don't really have time for me. And Lisa is trying to be superwoman. She wants to be a super mom, a super boss, and a great wife. And she's basically like, she's overwhelmed and she's starting to have burnout. She even tells Ayan, when I look in the mirror, I don't even know mentally where I'm at anymore. And then they show us like all the things that she's doing, Mina Rose help taking the boys to soccer practice. And I'm looking at Rich in the flashback like, are you helping your wife? Like Rich seems to make good money. And I'm like, are you offering to get her nannies? Are you playing an active role in your kid's life? It just shouldn't be her. I really had an issue with last episode that her phone had like several different alarms. I'm like, it shouldn't be all of that. It should not be all of that. So, Ayan is like, see, girl, like I knew something was up and I don't like that because, I love you and Rich. And so Lisa starts to get emotional. Ayan starts to get emotional because her friend is getting emotional. And she's like, Ayan tells Lisa, you need to speak to Rich. You need to tell Rich like what's going on with you. And Lisa's like, I'm going to do that. And then Ayan is like, girl, you need to stop thinking because I don't think, and that's why I live a soft life all around. I said, okay, girl. They then bring up about Talene and Brooks and how Ayan is like, I would never do that to you, Lisa. I said, you kind of did, Ayan. Where she was like, I wouldn't be beefing with you and then become friends with someone that you have an issue with. Like, I would never do that to you, girl. I said, well, girl, it kind of looked like you did. But they laughed it off. I feel like Lisa suffers from like perfectionism. I think she feels like she has to be this Stanford wife, or maybe she wants to be this Stanford wife where she's like, the perfect wife, because Lisa's beautiful. She's she seems like a really great mom. Now she has this business, and it's just like, girl, you have to like find the balance, and I don't think she's found it, because constantly calling yourself superwoman is not a good thing, because in my mind, Superman got his ass beat a lot. But to be honest, like, you don't get badges for struggling. So like, no one's gonna pat you on the back and say good job for struggling. Like, if you can find ways to help yourself out, then take those ways to help yourself out. That's what I'm saying. But I also don't have a problem with her wanting to push her business either, because at least she's using the platform to get Mina Rose out there. Because I'd never heard of the brand. Like, I ain't never been pregnant, but like, I've never heard of that. Like, the brands that come to mind when people have babies is like Gerber, Oshkosh Bagosh, Children's Place, but not Mina Rowe. So I'm just kind of like, okay, like, she's trying to make her name a household name, which I don't have an issue with. That's one thing about housewives, that like housewives that get on Housewives and don't use their platform, they irritate me. And the main one was Sheree. It still is Sheree. But let's talk about Ashley. Like, it still bothers me, Ashley from Potomac, that she did not get like a Corona advertisement. I've seen Corona advertised influencers on TikTok and Instagram. You're on a huge platform and they have yet to give you a Corona deal. Something is wrong with that. Get it together. So we leave that scene, and then we have this scene of Caroline Stanberry with Sergio and his family. So we see the mom Violet, we see the sister Laura, and Laura's boyfriend Sergio. So they sit down at the table. Stanberry comes and sits with them, and she pretty much makes it known that she's not avoiding the family, because she was like, oh, I have like a body massage in a few hours, like, and Sergio's like, well, is it for all of us? She was like, no, it's just for me. And she was like, your family's here, enjoy your family. And Sergio was like, honey, you have to prioritize me, honey. You have to prioritize me. And Sergio, like, Caroline is like, Sergio, I can do other things just like you can do other things. So then she asks the boyfriend and the sister, like, don't you have friends? Don't you have this, and this? And like, you have hobbies and all of that stuff. And the boyfriend is like, yeah. And the sister's like, yeah. And Sergio's like, yeah, but you still have to prioritize me, honey. And then she gets irritated and leaves the table. And Caroline says in her confessional that basically, when her family comes to visit, she just hands them the keys and she's like, go on about your business. And his family is a lot different. They're more like, I guess, communal and family oriented, but her family's not that way. And she was like, I don't have an issue with his family. It's just that, like, that's just not how we get down with things. She was like, I'm a mother of 3. I have friends, I have hobbies, I do things. And Sergio is the perfect example of like, your significant other should not be your end all be all. That's why it's so weird to me when girls get into relationships and they cut off their friends. And it's like, even if that relationship goes all the way to you getting married, you never see boys cut their friends off like that. So why are you cutting your friends off like that? Like, you need your friends. You need to be able to have other people that you can hang out and kick it with other than that one person. I know for me, I get tired of that. Like, if I was Caroline Stan, I would be tired of Sergio. Like Sergio acts like he wants to be a conjoined twin with her. I'd be like, get on my space. He's annoying at times. Like, he does seem like he really cares about her, but he is annoying. He's too clingy. So the boyfriend leaves the table, and then Caroline leaves the table. I said, Stanberry and the boyfriend leave the table, and it's just Sergio, his mom, and his sister. And Sergio starts to complain about how he misses the old Caroline that like was always like into him and wanted to be around him. And the mom chimes in, and she's like, excuse me, she ends up saying like, y'all have to find the middle ground. Y'all had to slow down my TV because them subtitles was going too fast. And she was like, y'all just have to find the middle ground. And then Sergio was just like, we've been arguing about having the baby. The way his mom's face was when he talked about going to the doctor, she was very much like, and she basically says that like the mom, basically what it boils down, don't nobody want Sergio to have this baby. Nobody wants Sergio to have this kid. except Sergio. And Sergio was taken aback because he thought his mom and his sister would be on board, but they're really not. Mainly the mom. The sister really didn't have much to say other than being like, we'll support you in anything that you do. But like the mom is like, y'all don't need to worry about no baby. You need to worry about connecting. And Sergio's like, I'm the only one that wants this baby. And then he gets mad at his mom because his mom keeps going. She was like, you putting a lot of pressure on yourself and a lot of pressure on her because like eventually she not gonna be here and it's gonna only be you. And then Sergio's like, relax. And then the sister chimes in, we'll support you in anything that you do. But it was just funny when the mom was like, I don't know why you getting upset with me. I'm telling the truth. And basically, Sergio says that back home, I think he's from Spain. He was like, where we grow up, like where I grew up, there's a lot of people from my family in the neighborhood. And like, I always envisioned having such a big family. And I'm like, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. But my issue with Sergio is like, why did you wait? Like, not even wait, why did you marry somebody who already had a life before you? Like Caroline, when Sergio and him got together, I think she said her and Sergio met when he was 24. And if Caroline is 48 now or 47 now, then that means she was either 40, like, and he's 29 now. 5 years. That means that like they met when she was like 44 or 43. And I'm just kind of like, what did you truly expect that you were going to get out of that relationship? And it's kind of just weird that he didn't have that foresight. Like if you wanted to have a family with someone, then you probably should have got somebody who was like 40 and had more time to like wait until they thought about having kids. Or maybe somebody who was like 34, a couple of years older than you. So Sergio in his confessional talking about, I want my family. You want it. I don't think you gonna get it though. So then we get the scene of Ayan with her sister on FaceTime. She loves her sister. I think Ayan says she's like the youngest out of 6 or something like that. And pretty much her sister and her, that was a sister she spoke about that went through the I think it's female, is it FMG, where they circumcised them as kids. And she was like, her sister was always checking up on her, trying to make sure she was okay. And she said going through something so traumatic really bonded them. She was like, she's basically like my second mother. And I love her so dearly and so sweetly that she was like, I want her to be here when we launch Ayan Beauty. Like, I want her to be here. I want her to be proud of me. And the sister even said, I am proud of you. Ayan gets tearful. We also find out that her brother is flying in for London as well to be there to support her. So then we get this scene of Brooks, her mom, and her son going to the glass house. And Brooks is excited to show her mom the glass house. We find out that Brooks is a part of a family of 7. So 3 boys, 3 girls. I say everybody got big families. And she talks about how her mom somehow made it work. Like she gave everybody their time. And she was like, I only got one and I'm struggling. And I'm trying to find the happy medium, bro. And so they sit down and they start talking. And she tells Adam, like, tell your mom, like, tell my mom, like, tell grandma, like, what we doing for your birthday. We find out that the mom comes and visits once a year, but this year she decided to come during Adam's birthday. And he was like, we're doing something. Like, he was very, like, nonchalant about it. And Brooks is like, see, mom, like, I don't think I was like this. And the mom was like, you know what, Adam, your mom was just like this. She was shy. Then she got bossy. So it's okay. It's okay. So then, Brooks talks about how, like, I'm trying to, like, help balance the fact that he doesn't have siblings because, I had siblings. And she was like, Zoran might end up having more siblings, which is his father. And Adam's like, Dad doesn't want siblings. And Dad doesn't want any more kids. And then Caroline was like, he told you that? Like, you talk to your dad like that? She was like, is it because he's a guy? Like, why don't you talk to me like that? So then Adam makes the comment where he's like, it's because you be coming home at 10:30 at night. And I said, ooh. And even Caroline was like, what'd you say? So then Caroline's, well, Adam, in order for you to live the life that you live in, mommy has to work. And she was just like, I gotta work. I gotta work, and I hope he understands that I'm doing that for him. But he was like, every day Caroline's like, every day I'm at work, I'm thinking of my son. I'm trying. And she was just like, I'm doing all this by myself. And remember, she told us that in order for her to get full custody of Adam, she had to leave her relationship with Zoran with nothing. And then we find out for his birthday that we see later on in the episode, he didn't foot the bill for nothing. So it really is her by herself, but she does need to find the happy medium, because yes, I understand work is important and wanting to give your son the lifestyle that you want him to have, that he wants to have, that you believe that he deserves, but also you need to be giving him your time. So you have to find the happy medium. Just giving him toys and like taking him on trips is cute, but it's not enough. So I hope you really are working on that, Caroline. I really do, Miss Brooks. This scene with Sarah and Akine and her son. Mind you, Sarah live on a compound, because I said, what is this? It's a nice house. I wonder if she lives by herself, or like if like it's a family home, but it's nice. I wish they had more greenery around it, but I mean, they live in the desert, so how much greenery can you get? But excuse me, before Akine gets there, we just see Sarah and her son together. There was three things that irritated me. First of all, I didn't even have a problem with the twerking. I was just kind of like, why is he doing it? But I guess it's just like to annoy his mom, because he could tell she don't like it. But what really took me out was his shoes being on the couch, but also Sarah's shoes being on the couch, and then him coughing and sneezing with his mouth all open. It reminded me of that cat meme where the cat's like that. Like, I was just like, get the baby a tissue. Get him a tissue. So Akine comes in and he's like twerks at the door, and Sarah's like, Matum, stop doing that. And Akine, like, Sarah's like, can you tell your friend to stop doing that? So he picks him up and she's like, don't do that. Don't be twerking. And this lets me know, Sarah, you done gave that man some. You have, because he is too comfortable with your child, and you're too comfortable with your child being around him. On top of that, I still think that baby should not be around all of this. But I was like, girl, you done slid him some. Yeah, or you done touched some things. Okay. I mean, I don't blame you, because that his smile, Akane has a really nice smile. The smile in the eyes would have got me. But I know the giraffe man has probably ruined a lot of lives in Germany. I know he has probably terrorized the girls in Germany. So they sit down on the couch, and Sarah pretty much is like, where do you see yourself? Like, where do you see a future with me, or do you see a future with my family and I? And Akine's like, yeah, because she was like, I see a future with you. And she was like, do you see marriage? Like, what do you see? And he's kind of like dancing around it, but he was like, yeah, marriage, this, and this. But then Sarah keeps reiterating that in the Arab world, if you are dating someone or someone is your boyfriend, people expect you to marry that person. So like, I'm not playing games with Akine. It's either you in or you out. So then they kind of get into like a riff where she brings up the whole like, I believe a man is supposed to be a protector and a provider. And like, my father was an alpha male. If I am so sick of people saying alpha female, alpha male, divine feminine, divine masculine, ugh, it gives me the ick. But basically, she was like, when she was growing up, her mom was able to keep her check, and the dad pretty much footed the bill for everything else. So she wants the same setup, because basically in her last two relationships, she was taking care of the person. So now she wants a different situation. Well, Akine is pretty much like, yeah, that's cool, but like, how do we have equal control? Because Sarah ends up saying, like, in the Arab community, the man takes care of everything, but things are still equal. And he was like, well, I'm paying for everything, but I don't have control. And she was like, control, like, we both have control, but no one should really be controlling anyone. We have both say of the situation. I said, girl, that whole conversation, red flag, sis. He feels like if I'm footing the bill for everything, I get the most say in this relationship, and you don't agree with that, which is cool, but you gonna let that light-skinned, green-eyed demon trap you. I mean, it might be a good time. It might, but I don't even think they still together now. But he basically leaves her home and goes back to Germany, with them technically being exclusive but not exclusive, because he hasn't met her family yet. But Akine basically says like, if you want us to be more than what we are, then I need to know that you're not messing with anyone and I'm not messing with anyone. And so that's where they at. So then we get this scene with Caroline Stansberry and her daughter Yasmin. Or is it Yasmin? I think it's Yasmin. And pretty much we find out the tea about really how Sergio and Caroline got together and how quickly they got together. So we find out that Caroline was unfortunately unable to go with Yasmin on her college tour with her ex-husband and her to America to see all the different colleges. Yasmin says she really liked Miami, but she really, really liked UCLA. So hopefully she got in there. She pretty much Caroline's like, my daughter's about to leave, but I want to try my best to have as much time as I can with her. And so she was like, I want to make her a priority. So then I think Caroline asked her, like, do you feel like I make you a priority? Pretty much piggybacking off of what Ayan said about, like, the whole worried about the baby coming and all of that stuff. And she says, no, I don't think you make us a priority and or make me a priority. And then Caroline's, well, you have two other siblings. And she was like, they feel the same way. Sergio is the priority. And Caroline's like, that's really how y'all feel? And she like, yeah, that's how we feel. And then Yasmin starts to get very emotional, where she starts to cry, and she's like, the way he talks to me, you wouldn't allow anybody else to talk to me the way that you allow Sergio to talk to me. And then when we fight, you always act like I'm the one that's starting the fight, and it takes two people to actually have an argument, and it's not just me. And you make it seem like I'm like some monster. And then Caroline's like, baby, you're not a monster, you're a phenomenal person. So then we find out in the confessional that I guess in 2020, like during the pandemic, is when Caroline and her ex-husband divorced. And Caroline's, no matter if Sergio was here or not, she was divorcing her husband because they had grown apart. And she pretty much said that the husband had moved out, and then in a week's time, Sergio came to stay with them. But then unfortunately, he got locked down with them because it was the pandemic. So then that put their relationship in hyperdrive. And I was like, oh, okay. Because a lot of people that got married or got together during the pandemic was just doing that out of fear, because we thought it was the rapture, the apocalypse. It was end of days. Everybody was scared. So I felt like people were doing things they had no business doing. And so Caroline was like, the pandemic sped everything up like tenfold. And so pretty much like this happened, and she says she regrets how quickly she allowed Sergio to move in. But she also said that like the kids aren't that nice to him either. And then we get this new confessional, which I hate because it makes her look like a 1930s pinup model, and it's scary. It makes her look old as hell, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate the way, I hate that swoop to the side of her hair. I hate it. 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 But she says that when Yasmin and Sergio argue, like they always throw in his face, like, you're not my dad. You're not my father. You're a nobody to us. You don't get to say in this family. You're not a part of this family. And even Yasmin says at the table, well, I don't like how you allow him to like reprimand us and tell us stuff because he's not our dad. And so it does confirm that they throw that in his face, which I think leads me to believe why Sergio wants a kid of his own. Because if you got these kids telling you they're like, you're not our dad, you're not a part of our family, and he really wants to he wants to be a part of Caroline, he wants to be a part of her family, then that would lead somebody to want to create that. So I was like, oh, it makes sense. But it was wrong for her to move that boy into her house that early. Like, your kids just found, like, you just divorced your husband. Now you moving in somebody new. That's whiplash for your kids. Like, you needed to give them time to adjust to it just being the four of y'all in the house, and then ease Sergio in there. And quarantine or not, Sergio would have probably had to been somewhere else other than living in the house with me if I was a kid. And I can understand Yasmin being like, you're not my daddy. You don't tell me what to do. Because again, Sergio is closer in age to Yasmin than he is with Caroline. So I understand them looking at him like, you're a nobody. And then the way he acts doesn't make it any better. have this scene of Talene and her family. It's her mom, her husband, the girls, like her children, and then her sister Lo, aka Lauren, aka Lo. And they're all talking about dealing with grief about the dog passing away, Coco, which we find out is her sister's dog, but she's been a part of the family for 13 years. So we see Talene sitting down at the table and she's like reciting how the only people that reached out to her in the group chat was what's it called? Was Ayan, Lisa, and Stanberry. Sarah didn't reach out to her, and Brooks didn't reach out to her. But after Brooks letting it be known that she reached out to the sister whose dog it was, and I could see in the sister's face when Talene was like going off, like not trying to like look at her because she knows she wrong for not telling her sister that like Brooks reached out to her. But then you have the nerve to call this lady unhinged, because then Talene brings up how, she texted Brooks wishing Adam a happy birthday, and we find out that they haven't spoken in a week, and she was just like, she didn't even text me back, and she was like, if I don't get a text back, I'm not going. And they're like, okay, cool. And then that's when the sister was like, we know, Rafi's like, we love Brooks, but then the sister Lo is like, well, Brooks is giving very unhinged behavior. And I said, you are a shisty person, because how did you get a text message and you respond to it after the lady tells you like, hey, I'm sorry for your loss, and she's unhinged? Not to be trusted. The people not to be trusted. So we switch over to this scene of what's her name, of Brooks, her son, and the mom, and they're pulling up to Adam's birthday. It's at like one of the resorts. It's supposed to be like pirate theme, even though he said military, but I think pirate theme is way better. And we meet the instructors and everyone. They have like archery. They have like they're gonna have like a water gun fight. They have like paddle boarding. Like, it looks like it's gonna be a fun time, like the type of antics a 10-year-old would get into. So then the producers asked Brooks, like, is Zoran paying for this? And she's like, girl, what? Paying for what? I'm paying for all of this. Zoran is feeling he paying for his drinks, his vodka tonics. So then we see Zoran pull up, and Brooks is like, her relationship with Zoran is always up and down. It is what it is. It's up and down. And then we see her friend Lucy. I think that's her name. I've seen her on Brooks's page and even on her Twitter, like in her replies. And when Brooks did this, like back away, when he walked up onto her friend, and she was like, every girl that comes in here, he want to talk to, he want to get away from her. I said, I think I was just laughing because it was so quick. She was like, back away, get away from my friend. I cackled. And Zoran was over there in Lucy's face, like, hi, like trying to like buddy up to her. And I giggled because I was just like, Brooks knows her ex-husband. So we then see Lisa and Sarah pull up. Lisa's new confessional was really cute. And they're both talking about how in Dubai, every party is big, even kids' birthday parties. I think Lisa says she went to one party where, I don't even remember what she said. But I know that Sarah said that one of the parties she went to, they gifted like a 3-year-old a Rolls Royce. I was with Sarah, what is that baby gonna do with that? What kind of gift is that? If you don't go and get them, well, I was about to say Legos, but aren't Legos like a choking hazard? I don't know. What kind of toys do kids like these days? Like a transformer, But Lisa says she already preparing for like her children's next birthday. It's just like in Dubai, that's like a status symbol. Who can have the most extravagant birthday party? So we see the kids having like a really good time. They're all having fun. We see, the women sit down with Brooks's mom, Brooks, Lisa, and Sarah, and then what's her name? Lisa's youngest boy is sitting on Sarah's lap, and she's like, "Where are the prawns?" And Brooks is like, "Girl, they behind you." And one thing about Brooks gonna eat. Because Brooks was sitting there eating while they was talking about Talene, because Brooks was like, "Where's Ayan?" And Lisa was like, "Oh, Ayan went to go pick up her family," and she was like, oh, "Okay." And so then Lisa was like, "Where's Talene?" And she was like, Brooks was like, my PA, my personal assistant, reached out to her. She never RSVP'd, which is cool with me, but I didn't disinvite her. So I'm fine. I'm good. Like, she don't need to come. We all good over here. And I don't want to have that energy around me at my son's birthday. We see the kids having a good time. They in the water having a fun time. So then we flash back scene of Stanberry going to Talene's place. She brings flowers for the sister and flowers for Talene. And so they sit down. We find out that the night before, they all got wasted and was falling in bushes together and having like fake British accents, except, Stanberry. And the sister and Talene are so happy to be around Stanberry. That's why I feel like Talene is a social climber, because the energy of the videos that we saw with Stanberry, Talene, and her sister were the same type of videos we saw with Brooks and Talene in the beginning of the season. And it's given that, like, y'all, you wanted to be clicked up with that lady, girl, because we then see them sit down and we find out that, like, even Stanberry came back in the, like, they got back to Talene's place and she got in bed with Rafi. And it was like a funny moment. And he was like, yeah, it was like 3:00 in the morning. And I was still surprised that you was still here. It was funny. So we then get this scene of Sarah and Brooks walking on the beach while they're watching the kids go in and out of the water. And Sarah was like, you want to hold hands? And then Brooks was like, yeah, because it's going to piss Stanberry off. And so they're holding hands. And she was like, Sarah says, so what they post on Instagram supposed to piss us off? Because it was the video of Talene, her sister, and Stanberry falling in the bushes, drunk and having a good time. And Brooks is just kind of like, Talene went from this lady talking about your bush to now you falling in bushes with her. Y'all can have go to hell in a handbasket because I'm over it. She was like, I'm trying to stop you from being friends with someone that I know is going to hurt you. But if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. So then we flash back to Talene, Brooks, and her parents and all of them, and they're all talking about Brooks. And Talene is like, I'm not going to Adam's party. And then Stansbury's like, well, my kids aren't here to go and I don't really care to go. And then she said, after I found out all the things she called me, I heard that me being called to see you next Tuesday was the nicest thing she ever said about me. And then the mom was like, is this before before the drinks or after the drinks? And then Stanberry is like, Brooks is always drunk. And they all laughed at Brooks. And I said, y'all never really liked Brooks then, because if I've been friends with, like, the friendships that I've had with people that I've been friends with for more than like 10 plus years that I've been kicking it with, that like have been around my family would never make jokes about them like that if they genuinely liked them. So to me, it feels like y'all really never really liked her and y'all always thought she was a joke. And now that y'all have the opportunity to be around Stansberry, it's easy for you to drop her and make fun of her. Because if that's really your friend that you were friends with for 10 years and that's your bestie, your best friend, you would not be laughing at her. You wouldn't be making fun of her. You just wouldn't. Like, I'm not saying you wouldn't be mad at her and have issues with her. Yes, but you wouldn't be sitting here with her joking at the fact that y'all are calling this lady a drunk, and your mama wouldn't be laughing too. And everybody that was trying to tell me that no, Talene is allowed to have other friends. She is, but I see what I see with that lady. She a social climber, and the moment she got on this show and felt like she didn't need Brooks anymore or didn't want to be around Brooks anymore, or saw what she could get out of Stansberry and get into the same circles that Stansberry is in, she dropped that lady. Because let's be honest, for Talene to say that Rafi's family helped build Dubai and they living in that apartment, it's a nice apartment, but it's not a penthouse apartment like Nina and her husband had. And she doesn't have a home by her, like they don't have a single home like we have with Lisa, Caroline Brooks, or with Sarah. It's giving that you're trying to get into these circles with somebody who has the money like Stanberry does. And that's what I see. It may change as the season goes on, but as it stays right now, that lady is a social climber, and I clocked it. Yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below and share your thoughts with me. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. We have fun over here. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.